So we've all heard about the steps when it comes to learning to code. Take some courses, learn some skills, build a portfolio, and land a job. Today, I want to talk about the third part, which is the portfolio. This, in my opinion, is often the weakest link in the chain. Not because the new developer doesn't have a portfolio of apps, but because the portfolio they have is either very irrelevant today or it's full of apps that they didn't technically build. So you see, when a person's learning to code, they're tempted to play the portfolio numbers game, meaning every single thing they create gets added to the portfolio for the world to see. This can actually harm you more than it helps you in your job search. Having a to-do app, a weather app, or hangman terminal game at the front of your portfolio landing page screams complete newbie with no experience. Just because you built it and probably learned from it doesn't mean it goes into your portfolio. Today, I want to give you a progression as to how your portfolio should be formed, some ideas of what types of apps to put it in, and finally how to mature your portfolio over the years so that you will have a solid wall of successful projects for any employer to believe in your competence and line you up for that interview. So let's look at this progression. Number one, you have the pre-portfolio apps. Your early foundational days of learning to code are very important. They not only teach you the syntax and the fundamentals of programming, but they're teaching you how to think like a programmer, which is absolutely what the most important point is, because you're getting hired to think and solve problems as a programmer. One of the best ways at the outset is to build simple apps that actually are not really that easy for new developers. Basic apps like number guessing games, a to-do list app, a timer, a simple calculator, or exchange rate conversion tool. These kind of things, if you're able to build it yourself, they can be really important in terms of being the stepping stones of every new developer. And while you may be really proud of them, they're meaningless in your job search. So what you're gonna do here is to just create them, learn the fundamentals, understand them, and then just put them away. When I was new, I created a game that was just a long, basically, if statement in JavaScript where I added all these sentences like you're handsome, you're cute, you're funny. But instead of you have, I made an array of all my students' names and all my staff's names, and I changed it to the staff name plus is, and the names of the instructors in my coding bootcamp. So it would be, for example, like Samantha is cute, Jaden is funny. And I had it randomly substitute their names and print it out on a page. And I thought this was just a cool little project to make people laugh, but I soon just put it away because it was really just for my own understanding of using it to learn how to code, but it wasn't so much as to stand out as someone pitching a project. So one thing that's funny about that is that those without any knowledge of web development would see that locally running in a browser and think it's out on the web and people are seeing it. They get all worried. The job I had at the time would spotlight certain employees on the company's homepage every now and then. When they did, I would take an image of one of my coworkers, open up the developer console and put their image on the page with their names and some write-up saying, hey, look, you're featured on the company's webpage this week. They will get all red and embarrassed and not knowing that it was only locally changed on my PC, right? Anyway, these are the elementary skills, and while you're proud of them at the moment, you will cringe at them down the line. So learn to build them, absorb the skill, and move on. They don't make it in any portfolio. So number two is obviously going to be guided apps, right? I consider two situations to be guided projects. Number one, any course like a Udemy course or a YouTube course where they not only teach you the technology or a language, but they walk you through a series of apps building from scratch together. You build it alongside them and the teacher or the instructor will teach you about how they build it. These are great because you learn the bigger picture of how projects are structured, how to keep them clean, how to build an app of substantial complexity like a Instagram clone or a Reddit clone or a Twitter clone, stuff like that. And you build it with an experienced teacher to completion. Now, these are good, but at the end of the day, it really isn't your project. I'm sure you learn a lot along the way from a seasoned developer, and this is important in general when it comes to learning. You have to do this, right? This is the way. But at the end of the day, could you have created this without your help, right? If all you had was you and your terminal and your code editor, could you have done it without them? So in regards to this project, whether it's a small one or a capstone project, you do not want to put this in your portfolio until you have gotten some of the next apps in that I'm going to share with you built, right? So treat this as your first couple of projects in your portfolio, but just know that you really can't lay claim to it completely, and it can be a little suspicious to hiring managers as they probably see the same apps over and over again. Or if a good hiring manager can just ask you a few questions to poke hole in terms of your engineering decisions, and they could see right through you that you didn't build it yourself. So the second situation I would call a guided app is apps that gives you guidelines and outlines, but it leaves it to you to fill up the gaps in between, to connect the dots, right? These are great for those who are at the point where they are done from all the code along with me courses, which is similar to what I've done. When I was learning to code myself, I actually spent close to 3 months just doing code along projects to the extent where I knew exactly what you're going to teach, but I couldn't do it myself from scratch, right? So I think putting yourself out in the dark, putting yourself out there to struggle is a necessary part of being a programmer, and it's necessary for you to see the big picture and see a substantial app through to completion alongside a more seasoned developer. But guided apps are the ones that will give you the outline, but not the substance. And this next step will be very important because this project will be yours and a project that you will have to wrestle with independently, which is always a good thing. And there's nothing more important at this stage than to write a lot of code and just build things, just ABC, right? Always be coding. So now let's dive back into the progression of the portfolio. Number 3, you will have a personal unique apps. These are the types of apps that you build entirely on your own with no outside help. The key here is to build something unique and it showcases your abilities, your creativity, and problem-solving skills. It could be something that solves a real problem you've encountered or something that reflects your personal interest. This is the stage where your portfolio starts to take shape and begins to show who you are as a developer. For example, instead of building another to-do list app or another weather app, or considering doing something more specific, like maybe just as a level 2 kind of thing, a personal finance tracker, maybe a simple social media platform that you can use, maybe a scheduler to post your posts, right? Or any app that allows you to maybe automate some of the boring stuff or repetitive stuffs in your life. The goal is to show that you can take what you've learned and apply it directly to real world challenges, which includes your own personal life issues, right? These are the types of apps that will set you apart from every other candidate that might be using similar projects that were built from guided courses. So the beauty of personal projects is that you can make them stand out in ways that generic apps cannot. You can implement features that show off your technical skills, like integrating APIs, adding auth authentication, or even optimizing performance. More importantly, these projects will give you something truly original, like something that's yours, that gives you personality, something that allows you to talk about during those interviews that you're going to sit for. When you can confidently explain how you identified a problem, designed a solution, and implemented it from scratch, you are demonstrating valuable skills that hiring managers look for. So finally, number 4, you now have mature apps, right? These are the apps that you build over time that show not only your growing skills, but also your ability to maintain and improve projects. A mature app is one that's obviously well documented, it's scalable, and it's polished. It has to look impressive. It's an app that you've updated and enhanced, adding new features and fixing bugs along the way. Over time, you will start to see that these apps will be part of your longer term portfolio and the ones that you can confidently share with potential employers or potential clients to show the depth of your knowledge and experience. For instance, if you have created a personal finance tracker early on, by the time it's a mature app, it might have advanced features like real-time stock tracking, budgeting tools, AI integration, or machine learning model that provides financial advice based on your spending habits. By just continually improving your projects, you show that you are a lifelong learner and you can adapt and grow within your field. So really, to wrap this all up, building your portfolio isn't just about showing off a bunch of code that you've written. It's not about just showing every single little project you built on that wall. It's about strategically selecting and developing projects that reflect your growth over time and the real world skills that you've gained, right? So remember, start with the basics, move on to guided projects, and then create something unique that really stands out that you can add your story to, and finally keep maturing those projects to demonstrate your ability to evolve as a developer. So as a final piece of advice, do not rush to get everything perfect right away. Let your portfolio grow alongside you. With every project that you build, you will refine your skills and let your portfolio become a true representation of your abilities. And when it's time to land your first job, you will be ready with a portfolio that speaks for itself.